get a read on how investors have been playing all the action over the week. There's been plenty of it. Joining us from nabtrade, Gemma Dale. Gemma, welcome. I don't think I've spoken to you in the new year, so hope you've had a good one. And it's an interesting way to start the new year, isn't it? Because that volatility is continuing with a vengeance. How have investors been playing it this week?
Yeah, it's quite fascinating to see. We're starting to see volumes really, really running hard at a surprising time of year. We don't generally anticipate particularly high volumes at this time. It's usually pretty quiet. Really into February, we don't generally see them pick up for another couple of weeks, but it's been running so hot this year, it's amazing. So even though we have more customers, the average trade sizes are larger, the number of customers trading is larger. Like, there's just so much happening, which is quite fascinating. And this is not the kind of dip that investors get super excited about either. So they're obviously picking away at things that they're very interested in rather than a broad base. There's a sell-off and we want to buy, or it's peaking and we want to trim. This is just sort of individual opportunities that people are grabbing where they get the chance. You've got Fortescue up on screen. That's always the one I have to talk about. I wish I didn't. Honestly, there'll come a day when it's not the number one stock. It was a 91% sell yesterday, which is just incredible. That bounce was just such an opportunity for so many of our really high value traders to lock in some profits. As I've mentioned before, Fortescue is very specifically a relatively small number of traders with very large amounts of money they're running, and they're running it through Fortescue pretty consistently. They love that stock. It's very predictable for them. They love it. BHP was the same, 70% sell. So that bounce, they were really happy to trim. It'll come off today, and we'll see if they grab a little bit more of it.
Yeah, of course, BHP, that comes off the back of that vote there where it's going single listing, of course, in the ASX coming off in the UK. So do you think that's added to it?
I think it's a really interesting one. There are some of our higher value investors who have unique approaches to how they track the market. One of the things that they look at is what are likely significant index moves, and they like to predict the impacts of a change, particularly in the composition of the top 10, how they shift around, and whether there'll be some rotation for fundies and index managers that might give them an opportunity to pick up something at the margin. So they're really interested to see what the impact is on BHP becoming the largest company in Australia, and they've been feeling that CBA and CSL will come under some pressure as BHP really rises. So it'll be interesting to see whether they get a chance to make a bit of money out of that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Gemma, I noticed Brainchip is on your list at the moment. Just taking a look at its share price, of course, it has had a huge run up just in the past month or so. It has come off significantly though. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's off 12% when I looked just before I came on air today, from what I can see. It's an interesting stock. It's not the kind of thing that would ever make our top 5 most traded, specifically by value. We'll sometimes see smaller, more speculative companies that make it in by the number of trades, but the trade value is very small because it's just people having a little nibble here and there. The fascinating thing about Brainchip over the last 2 weeks, let's say, is that the value going through it is really high, not just the number of trades, but the amount of money people are putting behind it. The run's been absolutely incredible. And it's pretty much a vertical line up until today. And so people have been really running hard at it. It's been quite astonishing. We don't see that very often. We have seen Brainchip in our numbers before. I want to say a little over 12 months ago, it was quite a hot stock for people to have a go at. It fell away completely. This latest run, they've been back on it. It is very active trading though. So we're not seeing people buy and hold. We're seeing very active trading. People want to get a profit when it's running hard. Hopefully they work out where they're going to go with it.
Yeah, all right. Well, financials, let's take a look at that sector. What are the big banks doing? How popular are they at the moment?
Yeah, banks are never as popular as they used to be, which is fascinating. They've really drifted away out of our numbers. They were very, very attractive to people during COVID. So when they got hit incredibly hard during the COVID crash, they were so popular. All 4 of the top 4, all 4 of the big 4 in our top 10, and Macquarie was in the top 10. People loved them, bought them really hard at that point in time. And then they've really drifted away out of the numbers unless something really exciting happens. At the moment, so it's been Westpac over the last 4 months since their annual results, which really disappointed and brought Westpac way back away from the others. It brought it right back down, $20, $21. Most of our guys saw that as a great buying opportunity, as you can imagine. So there's been really enthusiastic buying of Westpac really since that annual result, and it's continuing, which is surprising. People are still picking it up in fairly large volumes. CBA at $98, that was an 80% buy, very, very high value trade sizes. So that's a small number of people with a lot of money putting it behind CBA under $100.
And Gemma, let's move to the area of lithium. Of course, we know where those stocks have been and the price of lithium, certainly over the past 6 months or so. It's looking pretty ugly today, though, for those stocks.
Yeah, it's... if I look at yesterday's numbers specifically, if it had lithium in the company name, it was a hot buy, a really, really hot buy. It was quite amazing. We've seen core lithium in over the last 2 weeks, which is quite interesting. It's a relatively new name for our guys. Pilbara Minerals was massive all of last year. It was super popular. Core lithium came in the last 2 weeks. And then we've just seen Lithium Power International. That's been very popular. Outcome's interesting in that Galaxy and Orocobre were in our names, in our numbers for a long time. They're well known. Now they're a single entity. Maybe people are not familiar with the name so much, but we are seeing some enthusiasm there. It's been a lot of buying and people pretty keen on it. Whether or not they're going to be buying today is another question.
Yeah, that's right. Gemma, just before we go quickly, of course, we've got the listing of Square or Block, of course, was Afterpay. Has there been much interest in that?
Absolutely none. None whatsoever. We didn't even see it in the numbers. That was quite interesting. So you saw the volumes were absolutely tiny yesterday. We had quite a few investors who were still holding on to their Afterpay stock and would have transitioned across. What is most interesting is Zip is usually a buy the dip kind of stock for us. Super popular in 2020, less so last year. We saw a couple of nibbles at 365 yesterday, so a lot of people will be hurting today and quite disappointed with themselves as it's come off again. But they're little nibbles, so buy now, pay later. It's not hot anymore for our guys at all, and even the little nibbles are hurting people. So maybe they'll stop that. Yeah.
Okay. On to the next fad then. Gemma, always good to catch up. Thanks for joining us from nabtrade.
Great to speak to you.